in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What a pity, tomorrow never certain. What dwells behind the curtain? The face of evil lurking, with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could breach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. Hey, I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated, Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing? How are we this beautiful, Tuesday evening? Welcome, 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 one and all. Welcome to this channel. My name is Iko Gamin. I'm your host. And over here we talk about being and doing better with a strong emphasis on doing, ladies and gentlemen. And what are we doing today? What are we doing today? Well, we're getting ish done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. Dr. Thunder will be joining us shortly. All right. Give me a second here. Hold on. Sure. We can be matchy with it. We can get matchy with it. Run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. Yes, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about something which is a question of ideals, a question of what should be normative, what should be prescribed. So this is not a question of your preferences. It's not a question of what works in your life. It's not a question of what you can afford. It's not a question of the responsibility that you're willing to bear. And yes, it is a question, however, generally speaking, of responsibility. Okay, yes, it is a question of responsibility. However, it is specifically about financial responsibility, right? The financial responsibility. Whom should bear it? What should be the roles? What are the roles that are best suited? Again, from a normative perspective, from a perspective of what should be prescribed for the masses, not the question of what you as a peculiar individual might be. Because, hey, we know that we have our peculiarities. We may be outside of the norm in many ways, but it does not mean that we're going to go around saying things as, well, there should be no norm. There should be nothing normalized. There is nothing that can be prescribed for the masses, right? Yes, 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 indeed. Something should be prescribed for the masses. We do prescribe things for the masses. We prescribe speed limits and all those other kinds of things. Not because a NASCAR driver is going to be unsafe at a particular speed limit. Can I get a 1 in the chat if we are clear as to this? Am I making sense, Aaron B? We have to prescribe certain general ideal rules because we have to deal with the average, the norm, the middle. Not because people in the extreme, one way or the other, need those rules. But to have a philosophical mindset, to have a mindset of legislation, to have a mindset of prescription, writing a constitution for a country, for example, you have to say, hey, what's going to work across time for the most people, especially average people. You don't make steps, okay? You don't build staircases for people that are 8 feet tall, okay? You don't build balconies for people that are 8 feet tall. So tall people, like me, for example, always feel strange next to some certain balconies. They're like, whoa, 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 whoa. But still, we have to make normative decisions. So, I don't know if you can hear me, Dr. Thunder, while you work out your video, but perhaps can we hear your audio?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, all right, all right. Take it easy. Take it easy. All right. handle your scandal. Handle your scandal indeed. But basically, we are going to be talking today about whom should pay all the bills. And we're going to start out in a very simple way by laying out certain prescriptions. We're going to talk about what I do, what my parents did, what Dr. Thunder's parents did, and what he does. But let's go ahead first and foremost and lay down certain bases about what the average woman wants. The average woman wants protection and provision. She wants, needs, and desires leadership. From whom? From her man, presumably. But from men in general, yes. She wants, needs, and desires, regardless of whatever she may tell you somewhere, right? And you know not to listen to them, right? Ladies and gentlemen, yeah. Including the ladies. You ladies know that, it is foolhardy for us to listen to you because you say one thing today, say something else the next day. But generally speaking, ladies will agree, men will agree that they want protection, provision, leadership from their men. Okay, so what does a man want? A man wants, a helpmeet and somebody who is not going to bring all kinds of chaos to his life, not going to bring all kinds of, shall we say, war. Basically, a man is looking for peace. And let me make this clear. A man does not need a woman for peace. He just needs a woman not to bring beef and war. Is that clear? Right? When they say, oh, be his peace and all that kind of stuff, it's not that, hey, a man is out there, anxious and worried until a woman comes through. It's like, no, a man is fine. He's peaceful, generally speaking. Okay? A man tends to be the more peaceful, less rambunctious of the sexes. Okay? It just means he's less social. That's another way of saying it. Okay? Because when you're less social, you're going to be more peaceful. Does that make sense in the chat? Can I get another one? All right. Can I get another one? Again, we need to be clear as to what the terms are and what we're doing so that we don't get lost in the sauce. A man is not looking for peace in a woman. He's just making sure that the woman is not bringing war with her. Okay. That is key there. And then it may follow that, hey, for the man and the woman to get what they want, given these two basic premises, what should be the roles with regards to finances? We're just talking about finances now. We say, hey, the woman wants leadership. She wants to be led. She wants to be protected and provided for. Okay. And the man, on the other hand, wants some peace, cooperation, a legacy, as they say. So, premise number one. Okay. Premise number one, therefore, is this, that for the man to be able to give that leadership and for his leadership not to be undermined, if he pays, again, ideally, if he pays 100% of the bills, it is less likely that his leadership is undermined. And also that if the woman is getting 100% of her bills taken care of, then her immodesty and her non-feminine side is going to be checked. She's not going to be doing all that boss, chick, queen, be strong, independent, don't need no man, contention crap, all that capping, in other words, if indeed she can say, as they say, rest in her femininity, whatever the hell that means, right? But basically, what does she want? She wants protection, provision, leadership. What does he want? He wants some peace. Well, how does he get peace and how does she get protection and leadership? Hey, if he takes full control of all the financial responsibility, then she can be peaceful and less immodest, okay? So, if you can hear me, Dr. Thunder, and if you can speak, is there anything so far wrong with the premises, the way that I have laid them out? What a man wants, what a woman wants, and it is more likely for both parties to get what they want if the man takes full charge of the finances?
Yes.
Okay, a few more rapid fire questions. Did your parents both work, Dr. Thunder?
No.
Okay, so who was the primary breadwinner, Dr. Thunder?
You already know the answer.
So your father provided, okay, and your mom stayed at home. Now, for you, is that more or less the case? Are you the primary breadwinner in your family as well?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how did you come to that particular? Was that something that you, shall we say, because of where your parents did it and through some logical things, you decided that this was going to be the way? Have you always thought that this would be the case? Or has your thinking changed across time? We'll continue with the logical progression of our arguments, okay? But I just want to lay out some let's put down some shall we say our biases on the floor here with regards to how we grew up and how we're running our own lives. How did you get to this particular position whereby you are the primary breadwinner and your wife is more or less a stay-at-home wife?
Yeah, that was always my desire. Now, I wouldn't describe my wife exactly as a stay-at-home wife.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she is very busy doing all kinds of things,
Mm-hmm.
volunteering at her church. She has a dance company. She choreographs for a dance company, and she teaches dance at a charter school. Um, but none of the things that she does have been necessary as far as our survival.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first, you know, well, until my up until after my son was born,
Mm-hmm.
um, she didn't work. I mean, the work she did was the work that I described. It was important for me that she be able to spend time developing, uh, gifts and abilities that she'd been given, and that she prior, when the responsibility was on her to provide for herself, in other words, before we met, uh, she was not able to spend as much time cultivating those skills and abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it was important for me that she be able to do that. And so we spent uh, the first 5 to 6 years um, of our marriage where she focused mostly on those things. She also is an interior decorator, and she has clients.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, but that's very seasonal. Most of the stuff that she does is seasonal,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, and we have a sort of very sort of flexible kind of scheduling of things. I try to accommodate things that she's trying to do, and she accommodates things that I'm doing. Um, but we have an understanding that we must prioritize uh, finances, and what that means is that my schedule must be prioritized,
Mm-hmm.
um, or else we won't be able to, uh, you know, meet our financial obligations.
So if I go back to a couple of the premises that I said that we know we'll continue to lay out and the conclusions that we might draw from them, I basically said that a woman would appreciate this again if when she's being honest, and that she can therefore look up to her Prince Charming and all that kind of stuff, and that she will be less tempted to do that immodest thing. Now, let me go ahead and just elaborate something which, I say a couple of times here with regards to the differences between what men do wrong and what women do wrong. Okay? We all know that if to the degree to which we believe that men and women are different, then their sins are going to be different. The things that they do wrong are going to be different, right? If a man has upper body strength, yeah, he's going to commit violence. If a woman does not have that, but she has this kind of social thing that she does, then she's going to be abusing everybody around her verbally and emotionally. And that's what we see, right? When a man goes wrong, it tends to do this kind of physical violence type stuff, so on and so forth. And when a woman goes wrong, okay, it's all that immodesty, nails as long as the Hunnell Tunnel, and all that kind of stuff, right? All that snapping and head, all that crap. That's the difference. If she is not responsible, does not have that burden to bear, right? The premise is, again, just restating the premise differently, that she's less likely to fall into the temptation of becoming immodest and unfeminine, over competitive, and those things which women naturally don't handle very well. Women don't handle power very well. They tend to abuse it more. Now, this is not saying that they're especially bad. I'm just saying they're differently bad than a man is, okay? Because they're different from a man. I say all that to say this. What does your wife have to say about all this? Like, what does she think about the particular arrangement? Is it does it serve her needs? Does she like the fact that she's able to be seasonal and do these kinds of things, but while prioritizing your, shall we say, schedule because of the financial burden that depends upon it?
I mean, I admit that we've had some uh, uh, intense conversations at times,
Mhm.
um, as we're both sort of figuring this thing out. But uh, but we both understand what role we're in. She understands, I understand that my primary role is as a provider and a protector, and her primary role is, she takes care of the house, she takes care of my son. Um, but I also, as I said before, wanted to make sure that she was also able to do the other things that we talked about. We discussed this stuff before we got married. So although things change, uh, we're still both striving towards the balance that we struck prior to getting married.
Mm-hmm. 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 Indeed. Yes. Now it shifts. Now, there's something that I tend to believe, which is that all stability and order, not that order is always needed because you need to shake things up from time to time. You need to overturn things from time to time. Otherwise, they become stale, they become calcified, they become perhaps corrupt. But to the degree to which you're establishing any kind of order or stability, then there must be a power differential, right? Someone must have, or something, some element. First of all, there must be a segregation as far as roles go, but also there must be a power differential. If everyone has the same amount of power, the same equal say, everyone gets to decide on everything. Okay, everything is by committee. Then there's not a lot of stability. Now, this is nothing, shall we say, mind blowing. We can just imagine it. Just imagine everybody having a say equally about everything. How that is by definition flipping and changing every day. Okay, that is by definition not orderly. So, to the degree to which there is a need for order and stability and safety, again, this goes to the woman's needs mainly, which is I want to be safe, protected, provided for, and so on and so forth. And therefore, I want to be a puppy dog. Okay, let me explain what I mean by that. The idea is this, okay? If a man is going to provide and protect a woman, the woman has to be more like a puppy dog than a German Shepherd. Does that make sense? D in the chat and the rest of the chat, does that make sense? Right? That puppy dogs get protected and provided for and sheltered and oh, ain't that so cute? Right? And that is more in the line with femininity and cooperation and so on and so forth. It is a very powerful thing indeed to be a puppy dog, right? But it's a different kind of power that a German Shepherd has, right? And we're saying, hey, if you take care of certain things, then she can be more like a puppy dog, so you get your peace, right? And less like a German Shepherd, whereby things don't tend to work out. Neither you nor her get what they want. Now, I've just kind of restated a few things there, but I don't know if you had any thoughts as I was saying that before we move on.
Well, yeah, it makes me want to shout out Minister Jap.
Minister Jap.
Um, that's right. You'd much rather have the puppy dog than uh, the German Shepherd, which is on the front lines of white supremacy.
Whoa. All right, all right, all right, all right. I like it there. And again, this is in regards to the family, right? If you're responsible for protecting something, if you're responsible for protecting something and providing for it, then you want it to be a puppy dog. This is something that I have always, now back in my younger, dumber days when I used to have um, philosophical conversations with all women equally, right? Before I realized that, oh, okay, they will, they will tend to, they're not quite interested in that kind of thing in terms of, only when it suits them. So basically, I used to kind of say, hey, you know what? This thing that you say, oh, I want to come home and, be catered to and so on and so forth. You do understand that we're biological beings, right? And that I don't just want to cater to anything. I want to cater to things that draw that catering attribute out of me. And the catering attribute doesn't get drawn out of me by pit bulls and German shepherds. Okay? It gets drawn out of me by things that are delicate, such as flowers and nice little crystals. And
Hold on now. Hold on.
go ahead. Go ahead.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, are you making the, are you making these sort of uh, man's version of the, if I meet the right man, then maybe I'll submit?
No, 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 no. I'm not
Are you
making.
making the, I'll
No, 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 no,
I'll
no.
cater
What I'm saying is that these things, okay, are conditional up to. No, let me say something. Everything is conditional. So that idea of, hey, conditional femininity is like, okay, cool. What I'm saying is this: if I'm not protecting no German Shepherd, is what I'm saying. I mean, I don't think it's that complicated. I don't think it's that complicated at all. I'm not protecting no damn German Shepherd or no pit bull. I don't need that
well, a
crap in my
German
life.
Shepherd, right, and a German Shepherd and a pit bull do not need your protection.
Exactly. That is the idea. They may want it. No, in other words, because we're talking about a German Shepherd that has a mask on. It's a German Shepherd mask. Okay. It's a pit bull mask. Inside, they're a puppy dog that wants your protection and all that kind of stuff. But they put on that mask. And then, to the degree to which you're putting on that mask and having that whole thing going on, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to cross the street. I'm going to go across the street. You got this. Okay. You don't need me there. That is what I'm saying. Now, perhaps you were being sarcastic in your question, but anything to add to that? Have I clarified things for you?
Yeah, I was being quite sarcastic. But you know,
Exactly.
the yeah, you don't have to protect a German Shepherd. And I do not, as a general rule, and this is, I'm not going to fight for a woman. In other words, I'm not going to fight uh, to convince her of anything, right? I'm not going to, if I have to battle to convince you, then that's going to, that's going to mean that that's going to be my life. That's going to become my new job forever, right? So that's not a good frame. So if I decide that I want to defend the German Shepherd, then that becomes my life, defending German Shepherds. And so I'm not going to establish that as a pattern.
Okay. Exactly. Exactly. And again, let me go ahead and state something. Okay. Now, there are many regards in which I am very much outside the norm, especially when it comes to what we call social and cultural norms. Okay. I'm very, very way out there in the creative end of people, right? Whether it be artist slash philosopher, which by the way are my two top hierarchical things, right? The top of my hierarchy is philosophy, followed by art, right? It is basically you get the idea. So the point is this: I'm not one to go along with social norms per se. However, as the philosopher, I know that hey, social norms still do have to exist because about 95% of the world are not me, and they're not even close, right? In terms of temperament and so on and so forth. I understand that I'm very much of an outlier, and I tend to hang out with outlier people, but I'm not confused as to, oh, that's what the world is. But the average woman still wants protection and provision, and the average man still wants peace and so on and so forth. How do they best get this? And as a matter of fact, shout out to Kevin Samuels, right? Shout out to Kevin Samuels. In his show, women do call in from time to time, and they will tell you these things, which, by the way, it's not like it needed to be said, that, hey, they do not want to have to work, okay, to take care of significant bills. Now, why do women's for a lifetime? Exactly. Now, this is nothing, shall we say, mind-blowing, even to someone like me that knows that there are women on some end of the spectrum, some 5% women somewhere that are not like that. But we're not talking about everybody. We're talking about things that are normative. We're talking, therefore, about the normal, which is the average, the middle of the curve, the prescriptive. If you're going to write a prescription, a constitution for something that works across time for the most people, what are you going to tell them is what we're talking about. Okay? So all your weird little idiosyncrasies don't necessarily have to come into play here. Okay, so you said that, you guys established certain things and you've had intense conversations about it, as will always be the case, right? This is not some kind of weird static little thing where everything is just nice and simple and they lived happily ever after, right? That's never how it works. Let me state a little bit about mine because I asked you a lot about yours so far in terms of my personal situation. Now, in the past, as I said, in my younger, dumber days, I used to very much think that everyone was like me. I used to think people used to pretend not to be like me. Maybe I'm a narcissist. Okay. Maybe I'm a narcissist, but I really used to think everyone was pretending not to be this kind of out of the box thinker. I know you don't like the out of the box term, but we got to communicate, right? I used to think everyone was this kind of out of the box thinker. Everyone questioned everything, and everyone was willing and able to operate in chaos, right? That therefore, you meet the woman, you're dating her, maybe you're planning some kind of long-term thing, and you guys can equally just think outside the box and blow things up, have this constitution today, break it up, come back and reorganize something. But that's very stupid. That's very, very, very stupid. I now know that, okay? And I'm talking about over 10 years ago now, okay? Now. I've since grown up.
Right. Yeah, and you're talking about last week. Right.
No, I have since grown up, and as a result, my views have greatly changed. In other words, I used to think that 50-50 actually worked because all I got to do is just find a woman that can understand what I'm saying, right? And then they'll be able to roll with the punches with me. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're going to be able to equally sustain a certain amount of chaos, disorder, so on and so forth. All these things are my personality things, okay? That whole INTJ intuitive personality, which is just gonna rough and tumble roll through things, and we don't even really live on Earth, okay? But I found out the hard way that people always go back to their preferences. What do I mean by this? We go and we watch Kevin Samuels show, for example, where people get degrees up to, I'm a PhD, right? But then they say, hey, I don't want to have to work. And that's the kind of thing that used to confuse me. Because as Kevin Samuels used to say, his type, his type of woman, okay, is the type that he says you should avoid now. His natural type was the feisty. I get it. I like a feisty lawyer type, okay? Or maybe every once in a while, some bohemian type, outside the box thinker. In other words, someone who can meet me mentally. Okay, that's what I used to like. And then I was like, okay, if you can meet me mentally, you got the prerequisite IQ. Oh, you got an engineering degree? Great. Therefore, you and I can just go ahead and switch roles and do the dance the way we do it, play 50-50. But Kevin Samuels proved, and my personal anecdotal experiences proved that, no, at some point, that 50-50 crap, in other words, that sharing of power and sharing of things and so on and so forth, going to come and bite you in the butt. Have you had experience with that, Dr. Thunder? Just so we're not talking out of our butts, if you will, right? That, hey, this is something that not only do we have evidence night after night on Kevin Samuel's show of women that are of this particular caliber, the lawyer type, the engineer type, the PhD type, still saying what they prefer. But have you had that experience in your life as well?
Of course. No, I think in my heart of hearts, I always saw myself and wanted to be this sort of sole provider. Um, however, uh, I, in my simping, I am prioritizing things that are not important. I moved in. I tried that a couple times, moving in with women, moving into their place, you know. So then, basically, the way that works is, if you want to put your foot down, really the only leverage that you have is just to pack your stuff and leave. um, which I did a couple times. Um, but yeah, that's it's not, it's it isn't it's not preferable. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I I there's a lot of the, in prior relationships, in conversations and things, there's a lot of sort of tiptoeing around, because you know that if you say something that sounds a little bit too assertive or aggressive, or as a matter of fact, or you do know that I'm going to be calling the shots, that would be combated with, well, uh, why is it that you have to be the person calling the shots? We can do it too. You know, um, some of that kind of stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
and that
And if
gets
you
it
give
just
in,
gets really
and then
old.
you gave in to that, and you're like, oh yeah, you know what? You're right. You can do it too. But then what?
Well, because what ends up happening, happening is, nature always wins. You
Mm-hmm.
end up in scenarios where they're just not capable of doing what a man can do. Um, the example
The
that's
average
right,
woman, you mean, right? In case we need to remind everybody all the time, right?
right, right. Well, in this case, there's very few women that have ever existed that would be able to do this. The example that Fresh and Fit uses, that they use all the time, is this: if in the middle of the night, um, somebody breaks in the house, who's on the hook? It's not going to be the woman. It's always going to be the guy. And yeah, there is some weird scenarios. Maybe if a woman is a police officer or something in her day job, or she's in the military, or some MMA fighter or something like that. But that, of course, that makes up such a small percentage of what's going on. And I would argue that probably they, even in their heart of hearts, would desire that the man took care of that situation. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Got it. Got it. Got it. So I was kind of giving my anecdotal autobiography, if you will, as to how my thinking has evolved over time. And I have heard Kevin Samuels, in other words, talk about the type of lady he likes, and that's, in other words, that's the type, generally speaking, that I like. But when he gives when he says, "Hey, lawyers, blah 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 blah," he's doing that thing. Okay, let me come for Kevin Samuels a little bit here. Shots fired, as Aaron B would say. Let me come for Kevin Samuels a little bit. That thing he does when he lists, shall we say, very particular things, and then makes it a rule, like say, "Hey, lawyers, nurses, these type of women, right? The intuitive part of me, which doesn't like details, right? I don't like details. I like shapes of things. I like general categories. I like what is essential. Says, hey, is it the law degree that did this? It's not the case, right? I mean, if she just chose one other thing, she would have been this, but it's the law degree. I understand it's a self-selective process and so on and so forth, but it's really about the modern disposition mixed with a certain kind of training and indoctrination. And if that kind of person swallows it whole cloth, boom, then you avoid them. But Kevin Samuels is right in the sense that statistically, if you just want to play statistic games, then if you avoid them, then you're safer, right? But the thing that I like about the lawyer, the engineer, the feisty chick, or the out of the box thinker bohemian type is all the things that I just already mentioned: the mental capacities, the ability to be intuitive, perhaps creative, and think outside the box, so on and so forth. And the fact is, you can find those attributes in someone whom is more traditional, correct? In other words,
That's facts.
it's not like, oh, well, go find yourself a dumb, non out the box thinker person. It's like, no, 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 no. I still went and found, here's what, I'm landing the plane now with regards to my autobiography. After making all these mistakes, dealing with what I thought I liked, but I was mixing it up with modernity, with the modern disposition. And to be honest, they were just not high level enough to be able to break out of indoctrination. Okay, no one is high level enough to completely break out of it, but I was higher level than them. Okay, let's put it that way, which is not necessarily saying anything special. Hey, I'm higher level than most. Yes, yes, yes. I actually just said that. Okay, so I ended up finding those attributes. In other words, someone who's got a very good logical sound mind. Okay, what's called the TI, introverted thinking, and TE, extroverted thinking, that can move big objects around and also kind of can think, and is not a total just kind of swallow the whole pill and blah blah blah, but still has a traditional mindset, mainly because of the milieu, the place where they came from, how they were trained, and all the social, shall we say, chains that were put on them. Now, let me go back and state that in order to keep a man from doing violence, you have to block him with violence. You have to say, hey, if you do crap, here comes the cop with a gun. Okay, hey, we might even throw you in the electric chair. Okay, we might just kill you. Okay, how do you stop a woman from doing the social crap, which is their particular type of sin? Okay, you stop that with social norms. Now, just so that we're clear, can I get a one in the chat if what I just said makes sense? In other words, men and women are different. Hence, men and women sin differently. Hence, the way you stop their particular sins are going to be different. If a man, generally speaking, with his upper body strength is going to do violence to you, okay, cool. Cops, sheriffs, jails, blah, blah, blah. You legislate that stuff. You keep them in check that way. How do you keep a woman in check? Okay? When hers tends to be psychological abuse, emotional abuse, and all those other kinds of things, social type of things that they tend to do, it has to be done with social weaponry. You can't put handcuffs on that stuff. So the idea is this: I found the type of woman that I like, a little feisty, a little this, that, and the other, but in a place where there are a lot of social handcuffs around certain kinds of behavior. And at the end of the day, all I'm saying is this: that I provide 100%. She is, I would not necessarily call her a stay-at-home wife, as you also said. No, she runs a charity. It's called Hope Care Foundation, and so on and so forth. And for those of you whom are thinking, oh, well, she runs a charity with your money, huh? No, she was running the charity when I met her. I actually met her at a charity event at the hotel I was staying at in Ghana, blah, 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 right? So she was already doing all that kind of stuff, and she still does those kinds of things. But those things are not needed for us to survive. And those things can be seasonal. She can chill. She can relax. I don't
Yep.
know any thoughts that have popped in your mind that you want to react to as I've been speaking.
It's interesting. There's some similarity here, right? So, um, and my wife is very traditional, but she's very creative, and she, um, you described it as social chains. She came up in a family structure, and in particular, her mother, the kind of values that they had, and being in the church all the time. She had a certain, so that stuff sort of tempered a lot of that. Uh, a lot of the usual stuff that I think, creates challenges in relationships, the bad habits and things that sometimes women develop.
Hmm.
So that's interesting. And
Hmm.
the description of the seasonal, things as being seasonal, that really works well for us because I mean, I have consistent things. I'm off during the summer from my day gig, from my main employment, but I'm still doing other things, and then I have seasonal things that happen, and then she has several seasonal things that sort of fit in between. Um, I interviewed pocket watching with JT. uh, I
Hmm.
interviewed JT last night, and that interview on Conversations with Dr. Thunder aired this morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It was a really great interview. He's very knowledgeable individual. We talked about a lot of topics, but one thing that he brought up that I thought was a good point was people make lots of mistakes in these sort of uh, before they get married. They don't set the thing up properly. They don't voice what their expectations are. Um, they haven't vetted things adequately. They don't consider things like where did you come from? What is your family like? Are your parents still together? Any of those kinds of things, which are actually really important details.
Hmm.
And for some of the reasons that you mentioned,
Hmm.
because people will tend to, um, they'll tend to sort of quantize, back to what makes them feel comfortable,
Hmm.
um, where they came from. Even if they're trying to change and they're trying to do better, you know, you only have so much strength. And at some
Hmm.
point, you're going to, you know, you're going to just fall back. Um, so I thought that was a good point. And one of the sort of truth bombs that he launched is that marriage is not really the problem. It's the kinds of marriages that is the problem. It's the kinds of marriages. If you set the thing up correctly, if you understand what you're dealing with and you have clarity and you're not thinking with your feelings, but rather thinking through things rationally.
Hmm.
And if you come to something that's a deal breaker, you treat it like a deal breaker.
Hmm.
In other words, there's no deal.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah.
Yes, this is true of all kinds of contracts. This is true in all kinds of negotiations. This is true in all kinds of sales, in the sense that you can't have all these hidden agreements that you never quite explicitly stated, and then all of a sudden you pull out a gun when somebody crosses some imaginary line that they never knew they were supposed to not cross or something, right? Some kind of, oh, I think we kind of know what we're doing. I think we kind of know what we're doing when we're dating, and I think we kind of know what marriage is, and I think we're just gonna kind of go with the flow. And then at some point, someone's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! What are you doing? Why did you do this? Why did you do that?" And it's like, "Oh, well, having the difficult conversations in the beginning." So let me go ahead and say a little bit more about my particular situation, right? So as I already told you, my wife, uh, I pay 100% of the bills, right? So, but I said that I like women that are smarter than average and also a little bit more creative because I can't stand the whole, it's box A or nothing else. I'm like, I cannot exist with that kind of person. Okay, not that they're bad, but it's a me problem. It's not you. It's me,
No, right,
right?
right.
Exactly. It's a me problem. Those people are perfect for the people who like to be in boxes, but they will not be happy with me. I will not be happy with them because for me, my box is the whole universe, right? It's like there is no like I can make boxes everywhere, move in and out, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. So I want you to be at least be able to kind of go with that kind of flow. So don't think that it was a simple thing. In other words, that I just kind of assumed that she knew this and that. And the other. She did have some pushback when the whole thing of like, okay, what exactly are the roles here? And this is before marriage, obviously, right? It's not the kind of thing you do after marriage, okay? And you do a lot of testing. I did a lot of testing of her, okay? So men always talk about women S testing, right? You should have your tests. It's not going to be the same way women do it. It's not going to be the same way the average woman does it. But you should have your tests that you do. And if she doesn't pass it, she doesn't pass them, then no. So the tests aside, one of the main things is the conversations about, hey, this is my role and this is your role. What do you think about that? And then she had to kind of go through the whole fear process. Okay, you know what I mean? What is the fear? The fear is if I give this man, allow this man to completely control everything, okay? The first number one fear for any just average person out there is he competent enough to do it? Will it all blow up? And women tend to be more, let's use the word neurotic, right? Rather than say anxious. I like that word neurotic because it just sounds so bad. But you know, we're smarter than average over here, so we know neuroticism is just a psychological marker, it's a psychological attribute, and just means that women are a little bit more anxious, and they well should be because it's not like they got all that upper body strength, and it's not like they're not tied with some infant who cannot protect themselves, right? So you got this child, and you're a woman, you better be very anxious about everything, okay?
That's right.
So it's a burden that they have to bear. That whole kind of, hey, what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? What if, right? So let's say the competence thing was not a question, right? Okay, so you get past the competence things. Like, okay, you know what? I kind of trust you that you'll be able to take care of things after you've demonstrated to me, right? And after I kind of have watched you a little bit. But what else is there? There is the, hey, are you going to use your power and your 100% bill? Are you going to use your wallet to smack me? Every time. These are legitimate concerns from the woman's perspective, okay? She had to kind of go through these things, like, and voice it out, not voice it out, so on and so forth. And then with time, though, she literally said to me later, like, you know what? That she's very happy that she has to, and ladies and gentlemen, expecting a kid in December, right? So while she's been at home the past few months, pregnant, she told me, hey, I'm very happy that I don't have to work. Okay? So we started the conversation. Again, this is a traditionally raised woman. I'm not talking about someone who was not traditionally raised, but still, just being a human being, she had to go through the process of, hey, are you going to be able to do you got this? Are you going to abuse me with it? The fear, right? But she came back and she said, hey, you know what? I think I like this deal. It is nice not having to work right now because this pregnancy thing is work, right? Which, by the way, it is. So the whole thing about, oh, well, am I just going to be not doing anything? Am I useless? That's what it tends to be going through. That was what she was going through in terms of when she was thinking about it and talking to me about it, right? Before marriage, right? Am I just going to be some kind of thing that's out there? But now she realizes, oh, no, this wife thing is a lot of work. And if I also had to be running and doing this and that and the other and filling out form A516 to get 2 weeks of leave and dealing with Karen from HR while doing this crap, it would have been horrible. Any thoughts as to, this particular trajectory here before we move on?
First of all, I'm finally so happy because you told me that that your wife is pregnant a while ago, a long while ago. But you also told me that you don't like to share stuff. So I have tried to keep to myself several comments and jokes on the show. So I'm glad that you let the cat out the bag.
Yeah, now you can unleash all your jokes.
That's right. But congratulations. I think you're going to be a terrific father. You're going to have really high expectations for your kid, and that kid is going to be lucky and fortunate and blessed and all the rest of that. Um, so I wanted to say that, uh, something about, the black community, is fathers are not celebrated, like we ought to be, and such a small percentage of us have been blessed with the opportunity to have the kind of interaction, constant interaction that you're going to have with your son, the kind that I have with mine. So anyhow, all right. So now that I said that,
So
um,
let me update the information. As a matter of fact, when I told you, right, it was
mhm,
fairly early on, and I thought it was a son, right?
mhm,
I thought it was. Well, we both thought it was a son, right? And I was like, oh, cool, I got this because I get boys. I get
mhm.
we get boys. I'm a man, right? So I get it,
Right, right, right.
and I know how it tends to work. More or less, it's more easy, generally speaking. Generally speaking, okay. But then I found out that it's a girl. So D is asking in the chat, is a boy or girl? I found out it's a girl, right? And now I'm confused because I know that again, it all depends on personality. But the girl thing needs a little bit more of that. Again, the social protections. She needs to be brought into a community, right?
Well,
A boy is more like a hey, you, we're going out into the wilderness and I'm going to train you to be a man. Okay. A woman, and I'm talking about the average woman. I don't know if she's going to be how outside the norm she's going to be, but there's going to be, you're going to need to weave her into a tapestry of community more and that whole social thing more to train her. If a man, it's more like one on one out there hunting or something like that. So, that's a little bit of the update that I have for you there.
so it's interesting because, of course, uh, I know you like it when I use the word spectrum. Uh, so it's kind of on a spectrum. Uh, Obviously, boys are going to tend to be more the way that you just suggested, and girls would be more on the social side, as you were stating. But it's a spectrum. It's not, black and white, so to speak. But I will say this: um, I used to. Uh, I have you know several friends that have daughters,
Mhm.
and I used to think to myself, man, I do not want a daughter because I don't want to have to go to jail.
For killing somebody. Okay.
That's right. That's right. You look at her any kind of crazy way, boys sniffing around and stuff. I know exactly what those boys are thinking, and I do not want to, you know, have to tune this kid up.
Sniffing
Uh,
around.
you know, so I thought in that respect, and then just as terms in terms of like safety, like, um, I just, I was like, man, I couldn't do it. But the more that I think about this, and as you look at how things are in the world these days, I actually think that it's tougher for boys. It's tougher for men. Boys climbing the ladder and getting to that certain place. Um, as they say, women just need to preserve their value. Just don't squander it, right? So if you can keep your daughter off the pole, then then you've then you've been successful. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whereas a boy can always find some trouble,
Mm-hmm.
that he wasn't looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's yeah. So I don't know. I think, but my perspective on that has changed quite a bit. uh, since then. But either way, kids of yours are going to be blessed and fortunate, and I'm sure you'll probably have more than one.
Yeah, probably end up with five daughters.
Oh. I got a friend with three daughters, man. I got a friend with three daughters, and that was my whole thing. And they're all like attractive girls, and
Oh
I'm
man.
like, man, oh man.
I see. So now, uh, because there's a dovetailing thing with the whole daughters, and then the whole man paying, and then, for example, me going to Ghana, getting handed over from her dad to me to take care of her. You know, presumably her dad left to, kept her off the pole. I don't know if she was on the pole. Maybe they scrubbed that off the history books, but presumably she was never on the pole. Um, but the idea is it dovetails with this whole paying 100% of the bills in the sense that getting your daughter ready to be handed over, and in a certain way handed over to a responsible man is would be great, and avoiding the carousel, as they say. Not necessarily the carousel is not the thing. I think the pole, or because the pole is worse than the
Yeah.
carousel, right?
Well, so so these days, see that joke that Chris Rock told, I don't know, 15 years ago, however long ago he told the joke. Um, I think if he told that joke now, I think he'd say, uh, your job in life is to keep her off OnlyFans.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
think that would be the new poll. I think OnlyFans would be the new.
OnlyFans. Yeah, I gotta stay on top of all the different iterations of OnlyFans, because I'm sure every 5 years is gonna be a new one. I gotta keep my eyes sharp on that sector for research purposes,
Right.
so that I know what's going on there in that regard. But
Yeah,
let's
keep
get
keep
back
her.
to go
Yeah,
ahead.
keep her off of keep her off of TikTok.
Keep her off of TikTok. TikTok. Speaking of TikTok, shout out to Snuggles talking smack about Father Time and Mother Earth. The black woman is God. God is Mother Earth, Queen of the something or the other, right? Shout out to you, saying you're to give me the $5 because it's a girl, and women are sugar spice everything nice. Men are the scourge of the earth. You know, just turns out we built the damn thing, right?
Right.
Perhaps we shouldn't have built it because we built this tyrannical system that makes everybody unhappy, which is a different conversation for a different day. Now, why did it work out in the past? Because it seems to be the case now that women, because okay, let me make a shift. We've been in the ideal so far. We've been in the ideal stating premises that are generally applicable to what we shall call the norm. Women want protection, provision. They want to look up to Prince Charming, right? And a man wants the legacy, fit, feminine, corporative, and also peace, which, by the way, we don't get peace from the woman. We just don't want war from her, right? We don't need women for peace. We're the peaceful ones, believe it or not. That's why all that BS out there about women, men are more. It's like anyone who has lived on this planet for over 2 months knows who the ones that like to cause war are. Okay, okay. Let's not cap here. Now
Yeah.
we
If I
fight the
was
wars. Okay, go ahead.
if I was K Polymath, I might say a corny joke like, "We don't need them for peace, but we do need them for peace. Leave."
Oh, you know what? That is actually very good in the sense that that is a very much a K polymath type joke. I hear his voice right now, like, yeah, we don't need we don't need him for peace. We just need peace leave. Shout out to Coach Grant Adams. Now, so the idea is if we go away from that ideal world where we've already kind of agreed on a few premises that if this man wants peace and this woman wants provision, then okay, if the man is providing 100%, then his leadership, which the woman wants, is less likely to be undermined. And then she is less likely to become immodest and unfeminine because She's not out there fighting dragons and competing in the marketplace, right? So ideally that works. Now let's come down to reality. And by reality, I just mean circumstances. I don't mean that the prescription has changed. No, my legislation still remains. Men should pay all the bills. That is my law. But what are the circumstances that complicate things for us? Okay, let's talk about certain economic circumstances. The middle class has been destroyed, ladies and gentlemen. This is something that I always say. And last time I said it, I got pushback. A lot of pushback in Bernard Riley's channel when I said, hey, if you want to live the lifestyle of that guy that worked in a factory, maybe in Detroit in the 1950s, and he had a wife and 4 kids and a picket fence, and the wife did not work, and he was able to retire and sail into the sunset, how much money do you need, Dr. Thunder? Again, let me state the things. This is what people call the middle class. The middle class is not some statistical thing. People confuse it as, oh, it's about, okay, let me put it more clearly. Okay, we're intelligent people in the chat. So let me put 2 categories here. There's the middle class, which is a statistical thing, which is just the average or the mode or the mean or the whatever, right? The median, whatever. Median income, that kind of stuff. It's just a number somewhere in the middle. But then there is the middle class lifestyle, which is very different from what you may what the income is. The middle class lifestyle is I own the car and I have a house with, a house, okay? Not some apartment somewhere. I have a house. I can barbecue in the backyard it's a picture. I painted the picture because it came from, shall we say, the 50s, and it's a marketing thing, right? The middle class lifestyle and all that stuff, buy a house, the American dream, it's all marketing for the banks and the financial system, or shall we say politics. So it's political marketing picture versus the statistical things. These are 2 very separate things. What I'm talking about is how much money does it take to live the picture? Okay, forget what people actually make. If you want to live the middle class lifestyle, which is that picture, that thing that's marketed to you, which is this: you work, she doesn't work, you got 4 kids, there's a picket fence around, there's a dog, there's this, that, and the other. You retire, okay? You retire and stop working, and you're able to, the company, the Ford factory or whatever, takes care of you for the rest of your life. How much freaking money does that cost these days, Dr. Thunder? Just throw a number out there. Maybe Ohio numbers. Maybe I'll give you San Francisco numbers. How much does it cost, Dr. Thunder?
It seems like it's got to be somewhere between, you have to have saved up over the course of your career somewhere between 3 and 5 million, probably.
Saved up 3 and 5 million. And while you're working, you definitely need to be pulling in at least 200, 300 grand easy.
Right.
For that picture, 4 kids, this, that, the other, right? This is something that, in other words, I'm painting a difficult circumstance here, which is that, look, the rug has been pulled out of the middle class lifestyle. I'm not talking about median income and all those kind of statistical stuff, because that's not what it's really in people's head. People are thinking about a lifestyle. Okay. So San Francisco, Bay Area type stuff, you're going to be pulling in $500,000. Okay. You're going to be pulling in $500,000 to do that. And the chat went crazy in Bernard Riley's channel because, these Negroes out there getting their feelings and thinking, you can imagine what the hell was going through their heads, right? Like I was putting them down somehow. I'm telling you a fact. I said, hey, this is what people want. How much does it cost to do it today? And therefore, if you realize that, wow, if I'm actually picturing this lifestyle, which, by the way, we finance by credit. Let me say it again. How do people still go for that lifestyle, but how do they do it? The car is on a car loan. The house is on this heavy mortgage you can barely pay. There's student loans. There's credit card loans. That's how they do it. In other words, even the people that they're struggling through to live the quote-unquote middle class, they're all in debt. Okay? So that lifestyle is tough to maintain. I use that as a way of highlighting the fact that the economy is very different these days, right? Okay, so how can this particular thing be implemented? How can you tell me, okay, Ike, that you're telling me I got to go make $500,000 and to keep my wife at home and happy and to get femininity, I got to make $500,000? You may need to adjust your lifestyle. You may need to remove the middle class marketing thing that was marketed to you. Again, you did not wake up with these pictures in your head. Somebody put it in there. Somebody told you that home ownership was the American dream. I'm not saying don't buy a house, none of that. I'm just saying that these phrases and these things that are out there are just arbitrary and they benefit somebody. Typically, it's not you. Home ownership benefits the bank. Okay? Generally speaking. Okay. The reason I talk about adjusting your means is because of this. For the women to get this happy life that they want, whereby they're chilling at home, not chilling, but doing the work, the hard work of being a mother and so on and so forth at home, the lifestyle is going to need to be adjusted rather drastically. Now we're getting into the territory of the pain because we just painted the perfect picture. And maybe there was some psychological pain as to some people saying, hey, maybe do I want a man to control this, da, da, da. Okay, but let's say we accept all that. And now you're going to be a puppy and he's going to take care of his puppy. Okay. But guess what? In order to do that and you're going to struggle to make 80K a year, you and him are now going to need to live at 80K lifestyle. And this is something that came up in Kevin Samuel's show yesterday. Okay. And that's why I decided to talk about this today, because he asked this lawyer lady, okay, if you meet the man, and Kevin Samuel asked this particular question typically, like, hey, in order for you to respect this guy, okay, and women admit this a lot, like, hey, and we get it too. If you're a lawyer making 200K, you're not respecting the 80K dude. I don't care what you say and how much Jesus and whatever how much holy water you're drinking. You're kind of not really going to respect them. Or shall we say, even if you're trying to respect them, what happens that day when your emotions are particularly feeling prickly and you're like, this freaking 80K nigga? Right? 100%, right? That day's going to come. That day's going to come. You're like, I'm a 200K lawyer and I'm dealing with this freaking 80K. That's going to happen. That's reality. So Kevin Samuel says, hey, you find that guy. Are you willing to scale down your lifestyle to what he can provide? Because if you do that, that is the only way to be happy. What do you have to say about that, Dr. Thunder? It's a very bitter pill to swallow. What are your thoughts?
Well, so obviously the issue is that people are not going to do that, not in mass, right? You'll find a few outliers that will be willing to make that trade. But most people, probably high 90 percentile, are not going to do that. They're just not going to do it. You'll have some of them that will say, well, I'll still just take the person, and I can still respect them. But no, it's not gonna go well. This reminds me of a moment in the interview I had with JT, where he was talking about how people are posing. They're acting like they have money, but they're broke. He's an accountant. He looks at what people are doing. He knows that they are broke. And so a lot of these tastes that people they have cultivated, they are keeping them broke. So rather than, having designer clothes all the time and having the most expensive, X, Y, and Z as you're on the ascent, as you're climbing, I mean, you got to do the cheapest stuff that you can do. I mean, he brought up an example of how he cut his cable off and was renting movies from the library for free. And the thing is that most folks are not going to cut the cable. They're not going to say, you know what, rather than Netflix, and Disney Plus and all of these other streaming services, rather than that stuff, I'm just going to start going to the library to rent movies. There's no way, folks. I mean, such a small percentage of people are going to do that. And because of that, it's a total trap. There's no way to escape that unless you're willing to swallow that bitter pill. But 100%. As I said, such a small percentage of people are going to be willing to do that. You have this. I'll tell you one of the reasons why. One of the reasons why it is not the sort of natural order for a guy to date someone that's older than him
Mm-hmm.
is that because the person older than him has lived longer, they have
Mm-hmm.
progressed in what their expectations are for where they should be at that point in their life. So, so as you're saying, look, you need to, chill out with asking me for all of this expensive stuff. Well, honestly, they've been waiting for it for a lot longer than you have,
Yep.
you know? So it's one of the sort of nuanced reasons why it's problematic. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that's not to say that it can't work,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but it's going to take an unusual. It's going to take an unusual woman that's older than the guy that she's with, especially if she is significantly older,
Mm-hmm.
not to sort of overburden the younger guy with, asking for all of this stuff, all this opulent stuff all the
Mm-hmm.
time and expecting that they should just be there. And they're just going to have a hard time being satisfied with what's going on, you know.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Shout out to D in the building. D out there trolling me, but I guess I was the one that said the $5 as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Says sending you $5 for your $5. I think D is in tech. I think you're gonna need to maybe up your donations. You can't be doing this Snuggles stuff. Snuggles sells toilet paper. she, you know, she can be doing the $5 thing, but D, you come on now. These tech ladies always hiding that money, hiding that money.
one
So
dollar per daughter.
$1 per daughter is like, what am I supposed to do with that? They're gonna,
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We didn't take the 30% off that YouTube
exactly.
takes.
YouTube takes 30% off too. My daughter's Jesus. I'm a dusty dad now. I'm a low value dad. You're gonna kick me to the curb. I'm a pookie. Anyways, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Let's read this other super chat and then we will go on here. We got Wallace. Wow. No, are those dollars? No. What is that?
Looks like Russian dollars. Is it
Yeah,
our
it's
dollars?
R. Actually, but I know
What is
Wallace
R?
is not in Russia, so I don't know. Maybe he is in Russia. Uh, may the truly old God and Jesus. Okay, all right, okay, both of them. Give your daughters resilience to be worthy human beings. Congratulations, Ike. Now that you have your own kid, I shall not bother you with dustiness. Yes, 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 yes. I can't be taking care of you dusty Negroes anymore. I got responsibilities. Okay? Speaking of responsibilities, is it the case that if you, as a woman, then decide, hey, you know what? Let's scale back our lifestyle. Okay? Okay, look, I'm not saying that this is easy. Look, let me go ahead and make another confession. Okay, we talk about pocket watching with JT, right? Look, right? I like nice things. Been liking them since forever, right? It's a curse. I just everything, whether it's what I eat, what I wear, the way things look, so on and so forth. It has to be top notch quality. Not just that it has to be paid for. What I mean is aesthetically and so on and so forth. I just like things to be at a certain level, and then it tends to go along with money, unfortunately, right? In the sense that if you like wine, right, and the next wine up, if you're drinking, there's a wine called $2 Chuck, Kendall Jackson. It's $2 a bottle, right? Whether it's Merlot, Chardonnay, whatever it may be, $2 a bottle. Okay, it's called $2 Chuck because it's Charles Shaw, I believe, right? I used to drink a lot of $2 Chucking back in college, but once I upgraded, okay, to the next level, you can't go back to $2 Chuck, right? And then once you upgrade to the next level, you're like, oh man, I like I can taste the the tannic whatever, all that kind of stuff. Once you start eating lamb from Australia, you don't want to go back to whatever it may be, to spam. So, point is this, that thing that you said about pocket watching with JT, whereby people are broke but they're flossing, I was 100%, I am perhaps still 100% guilty of it. In the sense that when I graduated from college, right? Graduated from college, was broke the whole time in college and so on and so forth, as will be the case. I graduated from college, worked a little bit to save up some money to get my car. Okay? What car did I want? I wanted the Cadillac CTS-V Coupe. Somebody may know about that car, but it's this futuristic looking kind of car, which I was technically too broke to be driving that car at the time. Okay? I moved to Orange County in Southern California. Okay, people who may know Orange County know that, okay, that's a fancy part of town. Right? I moved to Orange County, got me a nice black Cadillac CTS-V Coupe. You gotta have the nice. No, I didn't do the crazy stupid rims, but you gotta have the nice rims. You can't be having dusty rims or stock rims on your Cadillac, right? And then I had the tires widened and the things lowered just a little bit in the back. Ooh, beautiful, right? But now I got way more money now. But what do I drive now? A Toyota and a company car, which is a Ford Escape. Okay. There's a Ford Escape, which is branded with the company logo, and I got a Toyota. Okay. But when I was just fresh out of college, I was cruising around in my Cadillac CTS-V with the rims and everything. So yes, we do pretend and we will go for the lifestyle thing 100%. Now, let me ask you this. Is it the case that, hey, if you are given the responsibility 100%, does it give you extra boost as a man when you are given a load? Shout out to Jordan Peterson. Basically, the meaning crisis, in his view, is a result of men not having a heavy load to carry, men not having responsibility. That's what men want. The reason why people pay a whole lot of money, at least they used to when he used to do his tour, right? They pay money to go sit down to a guy, lecture them about suffering, okay, and meaning and carry a heavy load or listen to the biblical lectures or whatever it may be, is because men were looking for meaning, and meaning for men is suffering, a heavy load of responsibility. Hence, is it not the case that, I'm thinking now from a woman's perspective, a woman who may be thinking, hey, do I want my man to take on 100% of the load? Can he do it? I'm saying, hey, if you give him 100% of the load, he'll do more than he's currently doing. Does that make sense, Dr. Thunder? Do you agree with that sentiment?
I do. I do agree with that. There's certain sort of natural, what am I trying to say? Natural phenomena, whatever, things that we see all over the place. For one of them is gravity, and the reason why men have more muscle mass than women is a combination of gravity and testosterone. So as we have to do more work, we get stronger and can handle more work. And that's how that's an advantage that men have over women. But it's not really it's not an advantage over what women were designed to be.
Yeah.
It's an advantage over if a woman wants to compete with a man doing what a man is designed to do.
Yeah. An apple doesn't have an advantage over an orange. They're doing different things.
That's right.
Gotcha. So let me, for those whom are not familiar with my Cadillac and why I wanted it, it's because I like those lines right there, right? And the thing is, this was a concept car, and up till today, this was like a 2010 car, okay? Up till today, cars still don't look this modern, if you get what I'm saying, Dr. Thunder, right? Yeah. Like cars, it's like I knew when I saw this car, I was like, this car is gonna look futuristic for a long time. Plus, it's a Cadillac. It's nice and plush and all that kind of stuff. It's got that nice big door, and the scale too. The proportions maybe misleading. This thing is actually longer than a four-door car. Okay, so it's this massive, heavy, low to the ground Cadillac, looking like a beast. Like I had it black with the rims and everything, man. I had to do it. I had to do it. So the point that we just made is this: that hey, if you indeed give him 100% of the load, he's gonna do more than he's currently doing. Okay, he's gonna do more than he's currently doing. And we got Goshen in the house. Goshen has dropped some heavy, high value man type super chat. Okay, always representing out here. It's always nice. It's always appreciated. I am humbled. I am humbled indeed. Shout out to Goshen for the $100 super chat. Says, congratulations, Ike. In my opinion, you will be a great father to your sons and daughters. Okay, we shall see.
Now you've established that if you talk about your soon to be born children, then you can possibly manipulate
Yeah, I could be like a welfare mom, right? I'm gonna pop out kids and I'm gonna get money. Ain't that right? That's the move. I get I totally get a light bulb just went off in my head now. I totally see why they do what they do. Shout out. Let's get a few more of these super chats and we're gonna begin to land the plane again. Where has this plane been flying? The plane has been flying over the arena of whom should bear 100% responsibility. And I said that ideally a man wants peace, legacy, and all that kind of stuff. A woman wants protection, provision, and leadership from her man. If he pays 100% of the bills, his leadership position is going to be less likely to be undermined. And he's going to get more peace from her because if she's not out there competing in the wild, wild west, she's not going to become immodest and unfeminine. Hence, both people are getting what they want. Go ahead.
More peace leave.
Oh, wow. And he's going to get more peace leave. Okay? That's the idea. Some people call it tricking, but it ain't tricking if you got it. Ladies and gentlemen, as some people say. I wouldn't know anything about that. I would not know anything about that. Says, keep working, bro. Shout out to you, Big Mag the Fisher. Okay, thank you very much. Always supporting. A great big round of applause for you. And let me go ahead and check out the next one. I don't know if you see the super chats, Dr. Thunder. Maybe you should read this next one if you can see it, because it's Wallace again.
Wallace Safira. I don't know if I'm pronouncing Safira. Well, maybe you can let us know in the chat. It's called Reals. It's Brazilian currency, not a Russian neither, from KGB. Just chilling with my Brazilian. Way XD. All right.
We got a KGB mole in the chat pretending.
Wait a minute, that's an I. Is that an I or an L?
In
Reels or Rees?
It's a. Oh, it sounds like it should be reals, right?
Reals. Okay. All right.
But that's an I though. But maybe it should be an L. I don't know. I'm blind. But does the keyboard is an I next to an L? Is that a plausible mistake that somebody will make? But perhaps you can rewrite it in the chat.
It is very much.
Yeah,
I can see. Yeah. Okay.
It is an I. It just sounds like it should be reals. But what the hell do I know? Okay. So as I said, this plane which we're about to land, okay, which we're in the process of landing, has been hovering around this space that says, hey, okay, you pay that thing because of these premises which you've laid out. And then we started talking about our personal experience. I started talking about my crazy, wild delusions as to thinking about, well, women can want to do 50-50, right? I just find the right kind of woman that can kind of maneuver with me and so on and so forth. But then I learned the hard way that no, they don't, even if they tell you. And that's why I realized, that amongst many other things made me realize that women don't want you to listen to them, okay? If you listen to a woman, you lose her respect. That's shorthand right there. Because we're smart people here. And no idiot is going to be like, oh, what do you mean don't listen to a woman? It's like, shut up, okay? If you're asking that question, get the hell out of here. You know exactly what I mean. Okay, I don't say don't listen to everything or nothing, but if you listen to these whims of hers, she loses confidence in you. You know, you go to the mechanic to fix the car, and the mechanic keeps listening to you about saying, "How about you put that wire over there? I don't know, maybe switch it over." It's like and if the mechanic keeps just going around, doing what you say, you can be like, "What the hell's up with this guy?" Right? You should be telling me, right? That kind of a thing. So if you're gonna be in that Prince Charming protector provider, that's my man role, which is what women want, then you can't be listening to her whims and stuff like that. Just because she says something that she wants today doesn't necessarily mean she's gonna want it tomorrow. And you have to have enough discernment as a man to know the difference between these whims, okay, and the things which are real and fundamental, okay? Because women will tell you themselves, social science will tell you itself, common sense and wisdom will tell you itself that women are emotional and emotions are whimsical. They go up, they go down, they go left, they go right. Okay. And hence, when it comes to the world where things have to be done, you need somebody with a more stoic disposition that can actually decide, hey, keep the emotions at bay. So I've learned that. And then we got to the point where now you're 100% breadwinner. I'm 100% breadwinner. We laid down the ideals and then we went into reality and we said, hey, what are the real difficulties? We said that the economics are such that things are very difficult. Well, how come things worked in the past? In the past, number one, there was actually a different economic disposition. Things were actually easier in terms of you could work in the West, I mean now. Okay. But how about other places? How about places where they were not living that kind of lifestyle with the picket fence and so on and so forth? I said, well, the woman just lived within the means of her man. Okay. And are you in the modern world as a woman willing to live within the means of your 80K husband and just keep it there? Right? That's a tough question. Right? I understand it's a tough question, but it needs to be answered. And the reason why most men were seen as high value men, because some people think that hypergamy is a new thing. I don't know. I don't know if you heard this, Dr. Thunder, but women have always been hypergamous, right? Some people think hypergamy is a new thing, or some people think, if you go to Africa, they just accept you for, women. It's like, no, hypergamy has always been there. However, if only men worked, then more men are high value men in the eyes of women, right? Because your man has status. He's got a position. Maybe he's just the court clerk, okay? But you're not competing with the Joneses because the Joneses don't have two incomes and that they're fighting against. In other words, it's a 60K versus 80K versus this. In other words, more because it's all about perception, right? There is no hard line in the sand, okay? That's why people who are poor living in the village don't tend to know they're poor because everybody around them is poor. I remember interviewing African Tigress, a fellow YouTuber. I met her in Ethiopia while I was there last time. And she was talking about how she never knew she was poor growing up in the village in Kenya because everybody around her was poor. She just thought, okay, this is what you do. You go to the river to fetch the water, to cook this in the afternoon. You go to blah, blah, blah. Everybody's doing the same thing, so no big deal. The point is this. I know it's a tough thing, and we're doing some kind of Plato's Republic type philosophical discourse here where we're going to bring a whole society to a certain kind of level. If everybody is living within the means of their husband, there's not going to be anybody complaining. Not that that's going to happen, but go ahead.
Yeah, so this is interesting, and this thought occurred to me maybe a couple of days ago, and it just occurred to me again. The sort of where what all factors play into the perceived value of a man, as in high value. Okay, so there obviously are these specific list of things that, and it starts with 10K a month, at least for 5 years, networks, all of the things that Kevin talks about. But is it possible for a woman to just value you outside of what those what your status is, where you are in the world, where you
Is that a real
measure up.
question?
Well, where you measure
Because
up
go
against.
ahead, go ahead. If it's a real question, because I want to know if to answer it in a okay. I'll answer it like this: if it's a real question, and if therefore the word possible is in there, the answer is
Yeah,
yes. But what percentage of women?
yeah,
Because remember
very
again,
low percentage. I
very
would
low. We're
agree.
talking about high level people. I like to use the word high level because there are people who are able to. What do I mean by high level? There's a dimension that I always use called level, high level, low level, and a different dimension is intelligence. It's not intelligence I'm talking about. It tends to be correlated with intelligence, but not necessarily. The level is the degree to which you can decouple yourself from environmental circumstances, social norms, and so on and so forth. Most people cannot, will not, we're not designed to, and will never, and you should not expect them to. High level
Right.
people can be like living up there on Mount Olympus and looking at the essence of something and saying, I value that regardless of what society says, and so on and so forth. Is it possible for a
Yeah,
woman to value her man that way? Yes, but you're talking silly
yeah,
percentages
yeah,
into how small they are.
yeah. So here's the thing. So all of us have access to the internet. Okay. Um, Obviously, the power of culture it influences us differently. Different populations are affected by the internet differently, I suppose. But one example that Kevin brings up frequently is this idea that um, an average man can get respect. Um, if in the Latin community, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
an average man gets femininity, submission. He gets all of that stuff, uh, and he's not high value, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there seems to still be a certain evaluation of him as a man,
Mm-hmm.
so he is still valued.
Let me ask you
And
this. That
yeah,
evaluation is not an individual evaluation by the woman. In other words, we're taking away that 5% woman. Okay. We're talking about
right,
the average woman now. The average woman is not making an individual evaluation of that man. It's still a social construct. It's still a social
yes,
construct that says, hey, man is valuable for X, Y, or Z, right? It's not some she sat down and came up with it. I don't think average people do that kind of stuff.
yeah, and I don't think so either. And and as I'm saying, culture obviously is the factor here. It's the way that it affects different populations. Because as I said, everyone has access to the internet. So everyone still has access to, as we say, blue check mark folks and everything else. People have that access, but it seems to be certain populations uh, that are not able to fight off the uh, what the social media is suggesting about someone else having uh, a higher value, and then that becoming the new standard. Some folks are more resistant to that. They can look at that from a distance and say, well, that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
Others, they look at that and say, oh, that's the new standard. And so that's part of that whole thing. I mean, obviously you'd have to take it case by case, and you'd have to look at a lot of different,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a lot of
Everyone
different
has,
details.
yeah, everyone has
But
access to social media, right? As you're saying. So everyone
right,
is steeped in that milieu, right? But others, as I mentioned earlier, I was talking about other things in which people need to be steeped in social constructs and things that restrict some of their bad behavior through social pressures. Okay. Not
yeah,
jails and so on and so forth, through social pressures. Those people also have a little bit of a cocoon of other social pressures besides social media, right? Presumably, so goes the argument, right? That's what I'm just saying about it, right? That community, obviously, somebody is saying something else. It's not that they're just evaluating by themselves, coming up with that. They see the social media thing, but they also see something else, and they hear something else. Someone has been telling them, their grandma or whomever has been telling them something else as well. And if you don't have that grandma telling you something else, all you are going to have is the marketing arm of capitalism to tell you what is you're supposed to do. And it's going to come in the form of Instagram and Essence magazine and all that kind of stuff. In other words, communities who don't have that other protective barrier, tradition, religion, whatever it may be, all you got is capitalism. And capitalism and democracy are not designed to give you that kind of structure. They're designed to sell you crap and to do majority rule and all that kind of stuff. Okay? This is a legitimate critique. I'm a 100% hyper-capitalistic type of person, but I understand that life is not, there are no 100% solutions. There are only trade-offs, right? But the trade-off you make in a liberal, capitalistic, democratic world is that, as I always like to say, you're going to need to be very hyper-productive in order to create order. Otherwise, you're just going to be lost. And productivity in this case means competence, eyes open, all that kind of stuff. Because the society is not going to do it for you. The society is there to sell you stuff. So people who complain, oh, capitalism is watering down our morals. Capitalism is not there for your morals. It's not there for it.
Yep.
Pick one or the other. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I totally agree. My, some of these populations I'm talking about, it seems like there's of course, the Black community has the least. It has the fewest of these sort of other positive influences that could counteract the power of social media. It has the least amount of those, so that explains a lot. However, there are some other communities that are not too far behind us, but they still seem to be quite a bit more resistant to the effects of these things than our women tend to be.
Interesting. We have crossed past the 8 o'clock over here where I'm at, and 11 is it over where you're at, right?
11:21.
11:21. Yeah, we went long on this one. I did not expect. I thought it was going to be case closed, simple and shut. Hey, men should pay all the bills. But let's land the plane with this.
Sure.
We know that 50-50 doesn't work. We've kind of weaved that in. We know that 50-50 doesn't work because generally speaking, the woman is not going to be, I'm not happy, right? And by the way, that's no shade to them. I understand reality. I understand nature, and I understand people very well. And I don't fault them for being what they are. I'm not stupid. But I know what works and what doesn't work. I know about trade-offs. I know you're not going to get a perfect situation. So when I stated ideals and what I'm going to legislate as the rule, I also immediately brought us down to how difficult it's going to be. And I say, hey, you want to live with your 80K man and if everybody doesn't live under the means that one person can provide, then it's going to break, because then there's still going to be the Joneses, right, that you have to keep up with. So I understand the complexity of it. This is not a one conversation type thing. Perhaps, okay, I have a different thing which is more prescriptive, which we can talk about next week, okay, as to how to deal with the nitty-gritties of the difficulties. Because we just stated certain things, talk about certain difficulties, and then we will deal with the nitty-gritties later. Now,
Sure.
We know that plenty of women get degrees, but they don't want to work. They get these degrees as a means, as a matter of fact, of getting a higher value man. That is the plan, right? The plan is, and I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about your average person who goes and gets a communications degree and then a master's in communications as well. What is she doing, generally speaking? She's not because she's trying to go. No, she is trying to up her status, okay, because she thinks that's going to up her status in the sexual marketplace, which it doesn't. She's trying to get a higher value man by means of doing this stuff. But what but the opposite happens, right? The opposite is the higher she goes, the fewer the pool of men that she's going to find satisfactory. Okay. And also, chances are she's going to get corrupted by all the BS she learned in her social science stuff. And I'm very, very much it's not quite STEM, is it? Because the reason I thought I was about to say I'm a STEM supremacist, but I'm like, oh, there's Dr. Thunder. But what does STEM share with music, for example? In other words, music is what it is. You know, it's a real thing, right? It's got structure. You can either do it or you can't. Okay. There's all that stuff. It's very mathematical and so on and so forth. So those are useful things. But people who go and learn about, the joke under basket feminist, underwater feminist basket weaving, right? That kind of thing. Chances are you're going to get corrupted over there because you're an average person, right? And also, you're going to start thinking that you deserve some kind of other thing higher when none of these things that you did actually makes you qualified for that person, right? This person that you're looking for doesn't care about your communications masters, okay? They're looking for that legacy, fit, feminine, cooperative, blah, 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 and that is going to bring peace to them. So we understand how all these things go. So let me go now and talk about the pushback. Let's land the plane by me asking you this about the pushback that's going to come from men's side. There is a lot of pushback. Kevin Samuels gets a lot of that pushback. It's like, oh, how dare you say I got to pay this? One, they say it's tricking. Two, they say, well, you're not alpha enough if you got to pay, blah, blah, blah. She just gotta submit. Because, whatever BS is going through their stupid minds about, it's like, some people are just crazy, right? And I'm harsher on guys, by the way, because there's no reason, okay, why these BANs, bitch ass niggas, should be acting like this, okay? There's no reason why you should be in your fifis about crap like this. If you can't cut it, you adjust. What I said about that whole lifestyle about, hey, this is what it takes to make this, and then they got mad at me at Bernard Riley's chat. What I expect a freaking man to do is to say, this is true what he said. People are financing this thing on credit. Maybe I should adjust my lifestyle. Maybe I will have to get a wife that works part-time. Maybe in order to seek this lifestyle that I want, I need to make adjustments, you freaking idiot. But anyways, why do men push back on this whole thing about paying 100%? Some of which are legitimate pushback, some are not. One legitimate pushback, for example, will be the society. That, hey, that does not work. So I'm either exceptional, right? I'm a 1% guy, 5% guy, a 10% guy. But if I'm an average guy, there is no way that this system you're saying is going to work. I see that as perhaps a legitimate one. Any other things can come to mind as far as the pushback from the men's side when they say, hey, pay 100% of the bills, my man?
Yeah, I think, if you want to have, it's really about control. If you want to be able to control your destiny, if you want to be able to control the direction that you're going in, then you have to be the person that is, if you're not paying 100%, it's got to be close to 100%. And I know I used the control word, and I know control sounds like, I'm talking about some sort of abusive, controlling, overbearing kind of thing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying if you want to have say so, then you have to be the person that's financing the thing. That's just how it works.
He who has the gold.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really complain about that. I mean, we've always known that that's what it is, and that's not. I don't see that as tricking or anything like that. I just see that as manning up in the positive sense of manning up, not this act like gaslighting people that they're citing real stuff that's real issues in society, and then gaslighting them and telling them to man up as the solution. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying take on your responsibility. And as Ike was saying before, as you take on more responsibility, you're going to become stronger. You're going to be able to take on more responsibility. Um, and, you know, to the point I was making earlier about the interview I had with JT, he was talking about uh, a man takes on responsibility. He responds when the chips are down. That person is able to uh, create, create the solution. If it's an obvious solution or not, if it requires him to take another job or whatever it is. I said something in that interview about, like my son is in private school and he's going to stay in private school. And if I had to flip burgers on the weekend so that I can keep him in private school, then I'll be flipping burgers on the weekend. And I'll just, okay, that's what it is. If that's what it costs, then I'm going to pay.
Yes, dovetailing with the previous comment, pay the cost to be the boss. Yes, yes, yes. And for those who want to come for Dr. Thunder and say, oh, blah, 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 private school, this and that, the idea is to lift yourself up beyond where you feel comfortable at the end of the day. And it takes two to tango, of course. And that's why I've talked about what the women have to kind of do, see, struggle through, the difficult pills they have to swallow. And then on the man's side, the difficult pills he has to swallow, which I have less compassion for because I don't care, you do what the fuck you got to do, bro.
Right. Nobody else cares.
Nobody else cares about, like your tears as a man or your complaints as a man only make you look stupid, weak, disgusting to some of us, as a matter of fact. And so stop it. I don't care what you do, think, whatever. And there's no glass floor for you either. If you want to fall through and go become homeless, that's on you too. I still won't care about you, right? We good? Capiche? 100%, 100%.
Let me plug something, plug a couple things. And of course, we got Case Closed coming up on Sunday. We had an episode this past Sunday. Go check out the replay of that. So 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this coming Sunday, got another Case Closed, and that's Ike, me, Ramil, Chantel, and of course, Solo TV 84. This Thursday, I've got a 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Thunder's Thoughts episode where we're going to be talking on the topic, do unions work for Black men? Going to kind of go down and talk about the history of unions and some of the racist policies, frankly. So that's going to be interesting. And then interviewing Mr. 1950 on Wednesday. So that means Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll have another premiering video. And check out again the interview I just did with JT, Pocket Watching JT. And then also last week I interviewed Minister Jap. So you can check that out also. But then next week, getting ish done with Ike and Dr. Thunder, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Tuesday. Let's go.
Yes. Thanks for the super chat, Wallace. Even though I removed it, I removed the content just to demonstrate that I indeed do not give a crap about you. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are gone, and we'll be back next week, as you said, Dr. Thunder. Joan and I will be here tomorrow. We're going to be reviewing some content from Brini Lee, talking about why women intimidate weak men. That's what she's saying, right? I guess you can already imagine what this lady that we're going to be reviewing says. She's a boss chick. Okay, she is this type that we're describing. She is the German Shepherd. She is the pit bull. Okay, and she's saying, I intimidate, rah 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 rah, right? And still somehow they want to be treated like puppies. Still somehow they want to be treated like puppies. We're out.
In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what dwells behind the curtain, the face of evil lurking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannons could breach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
Doop, 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 doop. My Tuesdays and Fridays, wild days, tame and wild days, are filled in good measure with vive and fervor and thirst for endeavor. So I don't bother with naysayers. Ha 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 ha. So, a minute of a cappella for those whom stayed behind? Perhaps. Perhaps. I take a sip of the wine and I find the mirror and the line in my mind. I'm feeling so fine and it's no crime. Sailing on the winds of melody, oh my. I'm sailing on the winds of melody, oh my. I'm sailing on the winds of melody, oh my. That one is called Winds of Melody. Wrote that one a long time ago. There is no recording of that one. A little bit more melodic. My most melodic one so far, as opposed to the other kinds of things that get written out here. Out here, out here, out here. Okay? Let's give you I think people like the Ghetto Bird Word track. The system is coming. Or should I lower the key? Should I lower the key, R&B? Said Dr. Seuss to Zeus as he rode a moose with his loose boots. The system is coming. The system is coming for all. They're praying and chanting and drumming. With gladness they welcome the fall. The preachers and pilgrims will pillage. The pilots will drop down their bombs. Corruption will swallow the village. With blood we shall right all our wrongs. The toil of the farmers, the work of informers, the paradigms and fables hoisted upon us. Searchlight is searching, police they are lurking. Legislators from the dark side emerging. Ghetto bird word for the masses. I come fi tell the ghetto youth say this year roadblock no fi pass this. Ghetto bird word for the children. They terrorizing everybody, we no feel them. Ghetto bird word over Zion. Reconstitute a higher height that we can gather and rely on. Ghetto bird word I call out. Ghetto bird word I ball out. The people are saying the words have no meaning no more. Believers and preachers are praying, but God has been dead for so long, replaced by the sign of the dollar, and nation and duty and all. They're fighting for concept and color, rejecting the beauty of all. Ha. Work of the farmers, the toil of informers, the paradigms and fables hoisted upon us. The searchlight is searching, police they are lurking. the legislators from the dark side emerge.